Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Um, our goal for today's lesson, it's topic 2, lesson 1, two-step equations. Now, in all actuality, this should be a review lesson, but just because something's review doesn't mean you mastered it the first time. So I want to really go over what do we do when we're solving two-step equations, okay? So there are some things you have to remember from equations. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. Okay, an equal sign means just that. The sides are balanced and equal. I can't do something to one side and keep that balance. So that is what the equal sign means. It means that they can't go out of balance. They have to stay that way. Okay, and then we use inverse operations to cancel or move values across the equal sign. Now, already this year, we've done some review with this, but we will continue to. This is probably the most critical skill of 8th grade. Now, for accuracy and neatness, you do want to keep your equal signs lined up. Otherwise, your equation gets all over the place and you get lost. The goal in solving every equation, isolate the variable to determine its value. That's always our goal. Okay. Now, when determining where to start, a good way to think about it is using the reverse of the order of operations. Okay, so if you can remove any addition subtraction before multiplication and division, a lot of times that'll help you out. Okay, and it is a little bit on a case-by-case basis, but that's a good starting point. So I want to get started with two examples. One is purposely going to have a fraction in it because I know that we need help there. And the other is a word problem because I know we need help there. So on the first equation, what seems like a very simple equation, x divided by 2, because that's all a fraction has ever been, plus 5 equals negative 10. Okay. Well, like I said, sometimes the addition and subtraction is the easiest place to start. So I'm going to line up my equal signs. Okay. And I want to remove this constant away from x. We're trying to isolate x. The inverse operation of plus 5 is negative 5. So I do it on both sides. These cancel out. So now I have x divided by 2 equals negative 15. Okay, because a negative 10 and a negative 5 is now negative 15. Well, the inverse operation of divide by 2 would be to multiply by 2, and I'll even make it look like a fraction here. Okay, which means I also have to multiply this side by 2. These cancel each other out. So x equals negative 30. Okay, I'm going to do a bonus one for you as well. This one's a little simpler, but it's going to come up a lot. So let's do that as well. And that is this one, 3x plus 7 equals negative 2. Okay. Again, line up my equal signs just for neatness and remove the thing farthest from the variable first. So instead of a plus 7, negative 7. These cancel each other out. We have 3x equals negative 9, because a negative and another negative when we're adding and subtracting. Okay. Now 3 and x are being multiplied. The inverse operation of that is to divide. You will notice I write division as a fraction because that is what is happening. These cancel each other out. X equals negative 3. Okay. Now, the story that I want to tell you is about a cat. Okay. I wish my cat wasn't asleep right now because I would show you what a really fat cat looks like. Okay. But this particular cat is really, really fat. A 22.8-pound cat needs to lose weight. If the owner follows the vet's weight loss plan, probably restricting food, different kind of food, the cat will lose 4/10 of a pound. Okay, so 0.4, 4/10 of a pound per month. After how many months will the cat weigh 14 pounds? Something a lot healthier for the cat. Well, let's look at the pieces. We know the cat is 22.8 pounds. We know that what's going to happen is weight loss minus 0.4 pounds each month. Okay. And we know that the goal is 14 pounds. So let's create an equation to find out how many months that's going to take. Now, I could subtract and subtract and subtract and subtract, but that is not efficient. And what if the numbers were bigger? So if we start with 22.8, and then we do the action, he's losing the weight, times I don't know how many months. So M equals number of months. Okay. And that's going to equal, because our cat is really well behaved and he's going to stay on his diet, 14 pounds. So now you have an equation. Well, line up the equal signs. In this case, this decimal, this very small number, is hanging out with a variable. So we want to move this first. Well, instead of positive 22.8, we're going to do negative 22.8 on both sides. Now here's where I just freaked some of you out. We have positives and negatives and decimals. Okay, and I'm going to fix this line because it is unacceptable. There we go. It's a little better. Okay, so these cancel each other out. That's nice. And we're left with 0.4m, 4/10 m. Okay, and it's still negative. That comes with it. Okay, and we have negative 8.8. Okay, because the difference between negative 22.8 and 14, okay, I'm double checking that because that is not passing the sniff test with me, even though it was already written down. So let's double check it over here. Okay, 22.8, 14, yes, it is correct. Okay, and it's negative because there were more negatives. Now, what do I do next? Well, this decimal is being multiplied to this variable. So now I need to divide by negative 0.4, divide by negative 0.4. Okay, this would be a point where I would say a calculator is very appropriate. You could do it by hand. You don't have to. Okay. And when I do that math, these cancel each other out, and M is equal to 22. Okay, so 22 months. It's going to take this cat almost 2 years to get to its healthy weight. Okay. Now, this had a couple things that we don't like. Division, negatives, fractions. I know that the integers, okay, the negative numbers, and the fractions we need practice with. And we will continue to do that. But as you can see, they do show up in our equations. So I want to keep moving forward. Right, after you watch this and kind of write down these examples, I do want you to read through the book examples, and I do want you to do the try problems, and I will see you again at our next class time or Google Meet.